You are now listening to the sounds of Dr. B's Spot, a production of Bowden Enterprise Services, LLC. Join the podcast where love and life topics are discussed surrounding spiritual connection, relationships, finance, and becoming a better you through elevation. And now, here's your host, spiritual advisor and behavioral health clinician, Dr. B.
Welcome back to another session of Dr. B's Spot, Love and Life. I'm your host, your spiritualist, your intuitive healer, Dr. B. We are back in business and back in action, back with the truth, back with the fire, and back with the words your spirit didn't know it needed. Today's message is titled, The War Between Reciprocity and Mediocrity. This is for the ones who gave from the deepest part of their soul, only to be met with breadcrumbs. From the ones who extended grace, love, presence, patience, and still got questioned, blamed, or controlled. Attempted control. For the visionaries who showed up as the full package, only to find themselves dimmed to fit into somebody else's half-built life. Let's talk about it. They took and took, but couldn't handle your fullness. See, reciprocity doesn't mean equal ability. It means equal effort, and some of you poured from a place of genuine love, only to find they were holding out from the beginning, not because they didn't have the capacity, but because they chose not to rise. They chose ease and wanted full control. We all know it's a two-way street in relationships, not a one-way street, right? They also wanted to be adored without having to grow. You experienced that, huh? Well, you gave with clarity. They received with conditions. You showed up with heart. They showed up with a mask. And still, you kept giving, hoping they catch the rhythm, hoping they'd finally reflect what you were offering. But the truth is, they were only mirroring your light long enough to feel important. They didn't want to build with you. They wanted to absorb you. Your energy became their refuge, their ego boost, their validation station. And the moment you needed reciprocity, the moment you asked for depth, alignment, honesty, they shut down. They didn't want partnership. They wanted power. And your love exposed that. You weren't draining. You were demanding truth. That's when it started to feel too much for them. But let me remind you, you were just too true. Real ones give. Not for applause, not to manipulate, but because it's who we are. You gave life, love. And when you gave that love and the love from you, that love was native tongue. And it is. But not everyone understands that dialect, especially those who speak in fear. The mask was the mirror. See, there's a spiritual war that begins when an unhealed person meets someone real. You showed up clear. They showed up curated. And the minute your presence started asking questions, their ego wasn't ready to answer. The resentment began, not because you were unkind, but because your kindness demanded their integrity. You were the mirror, and the mirror doesn't lie. You didn't attack them. You reflected them, but they weren't ready to face the version of themselves that your love revealed. So they turned it on you, started pointing out flaws, made you the villain, not because it was true, but because it was convenient. They had to protect the illusion they lived in before you arrived, and your very existence was a threat to that illusion. They saw you were too deep. What they meant was, I can't hide from myself when I'm with you. They said you change. What they meant was, I can't keep controlling the narrative when you evolve. Understand this. People don't always run because you failed them. They often run because you unmasked them. And when a mask slips in front of a mirror, that's panic. The cost of carrying a one-sided bond, let's be real, carrying a relationship alone is exhausting. You plan, you initiate, you adjust, you over-explain, you give second chances, third, fourth, fifth, whatever. Some more than others, some less than others. To someone who's not even trying to grow. And still, somehow you end up questioning your worth. They made you feel like asking for the bare minimum was too much, like being emotionally safe, honest, and respected was an unreasonable request. They use your loyalty against you, knowing your heart would always stay longer than it should. That's not love. That's manipulation wrapped in selective affection. They love bombed you when you distanced yourself and vanished when you got close. Their performance only improved when they felt like they were losing control. But here's the truth. You weren't asking for perfection. You were asking for presence. And if someone can't bring consistency, communication, and contribution to the table, then they're not a partner. They're a placeholder. And your life has no room for stand-ins. Love isn't control. It's contribution. It's sacrifice. It's meeting each other in the middle, not always equally, but always intentionally. If you were the only one holding space, then that wasn't love. That was endurance. Vision versus performance. Your vision scared them. Not because it was wrong, but because it was right on time. You saw things before they manifested. You believed in the growth. You had plans, momentum, and a purpose, but they mistook your elevation for ego. Truth is, you were going places, and they felt they had to perform just to keep up. But instead of rising with you, they resented the direction you were going. They rather drag you back down than stretch up, because stretching requires transformation, and transformation requires accountability. Mediocrity will always feel attacked by excellence, even when excellence is trying to invite them higher. They couldn't follow your lead because they never trusted themselves to grow. So instead of joining you in the elevator, they pulled the emergency stop. Their effort stayed stagnant while yours expanded, but you weren't punishing them. You were pioneering. You had momentum in your soul. They had memories they hadn't healed from. And instead of being inspired by your rise, they grew bitter from their stall. But let me tell you something. Your vision was never the problem. It was the lack of shared vision that broke it. You can't build a skyscraper with someone afraid to leave the ground. When it's time to outgrow the cycle, at some point, you have to stop shrinking to be understood. Stop holding back so they feel big. Stop over-explaining when their heart was never open to truth. Healing means recognizing the difference between someone needing help and someone needing control. You were their gift, not their project, not their possession. And when someone tries to control what they don't even understand, that's not partnership, that's suppression. You didn't lose them. You outgrew the lie. You outgrew the loop of hoping their potential would finally show up. You outgrew waiting for them to see what you already knew, that you were always ready to give love that was real. The beautiful twist, someone else is going to meet you where you are, not where they want to keep you. Someone else will reflect that same generosity, presence, vision, not because they're trying to win you, but because that's how they love naturally. Reciprocity is not a reward, it's a standard. And when someone shows up ready to give you what you've always given, you'll finally understand why it never worked with those who couldn't. Your power was never too much. It was just too early for them. To those who loved deeply and lost quietly, who stayed too long but left with dignity, who were loyal to the core and still made the villain, I want you to know this. Your heart was not the mistake. Your effort was not foolish. You were the blueprint. And when you gave love from a place of honesty, clarity, and spirit, you weren't being too much. You were being too real. And now it's time for reciprocity in love, in friendship, in purpose, and in life. Let mediocrity bark from the sidelines. You've got a throne to reclaim. Thank you for tuning in to Dr. B's Spot, Love and Life. I hope this message has reached you in a beneficial and divine way. If this episode resonated with you, please like and share it with someone who could use a fresh perspective. Until the next time, be blessed with less stress. Much love, Dr. B, and I'm out.
Join us next time at Dr. B's Spot, where we dive into the real deal of love and life by tapping into your body, mind, and spirit. Don't forget to like, rate, and comment on each podcast that we drop. For all upcoming shows, reach Dr. B and all she has to offer on BowdenEnterprise.com and social media outlets under the moniker Bowden Enterprise Services. Peace and blessings to you and yours. We are out.